Hello, hello. Hi, Colin. This is Ms.Tran. I have included this practice form for the Google form. You have two assignments posted onto Google Classroom. We have a practice Google form and a test Google form. So what I'm doing right now is the practice. What I would like for you to do as I am going over this is to have a sheet of paper out in front of you and follow along. Go ahead and make sure that you take note of the answers because you're going to be inputting the answers that I have here into my Google form. What this is going to help you on is the assessment that is already posted onto Google Classroom. The assessment is going to be very, very similar to this practice, just a few things are going to be changed. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with finding the molar mass of NaOH. Okay, so molar mass, that is going to be the mass of the compound. Okay, so molar mass is the mass of the compound. In this case, it's going to be NaOH. NaOH. So with NaOH, we're just going to break it down into its elements. Okay, Na, which is sodium, oxygen, and hydrogen. Then what we need to do is that we need to find the masses from the periodic table. P table is what I'm going to call it. And there we go. We have a little periodic table. Let's go ahead and zoom in. So I'm zoomed in here. What I'm going to do is that I need to find Na, O, and H. So Na is going to be right over here. I'm going to highlight in black. So we got Na, O is over here, and H. Okay, so sodium, oxygen, and hydrogen. And specifically, we're going to look at the masses of those elements. Okay, so we're going to look at the masses and copy it down. So Na is going to be 22.9, but we're just going to round it up to 23, just rounding it up. Oxygen is going to be 15.99, but let's just round it up to 16. And lastly, hydrogen is going to be 1.008. Let's just round it up to 1. So I just copied it down right over here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to multiply it by the number of atoms. So with Na, which is sodium, we only have one of them. Oxygen, we have only one. Hydrogen, we have only one. So multiply it. 23 times 1, 23. 16 times 1, 16. 1 times 1 is 1. So that may seem pointless, but whenever you see numbers on the compound, like little subscripts like 2, 1, 3, that'll actually fall in place of those ones. So then we add it up and we get 40. Okay, so 40 is going to be 40 grams per 1 mole. Okay, 40 grams per 1 mole. So my answer would be 40 grams per mole. So this is kind of like the shortened form of my answer. So in your answer in the Google document, just write the number. It's not going to accept any letters. So this is going to be the next question. So convert 6 grams of NaOH to moles. So to do that, we're going to use what I call a T-chart. So what you're going to do with this T-chart is that you're going to put what you're given on the top left-hand corner, 6 grams of NaOH. So the purpose of this T-chart is to convert grams to moles. So what we're going to put on the bottom, we start with the bottom, we're going to match the units on the bottom with the ones over here. So just copy this down here. Grams of NaOH. We're going to convert it to moles of NaOH. Okay? So where am I going to get the values here? That's where my answer from the last question came in. So therefore, last time we found 40 grams per mole. we found 40 grams per 1 mole. So I'm just going to put that here, 40 grams of NaOH per 1 mole. And what this is going to do for me is that it's going to convert grams per mole, because if I multiply across and divide on the bottom, my units that are the same on the top and bottom will cancel out, and I am left with my resulting units. Therefore, if I multiply and divide this out and put this into my calculator, then I will put it into my calculator as 6 times 1 divided by 40. Okay, so everything on the top gets multiplied together, everything on the bottom gets divided. So whenever I do that, I get 0.15. So 0.15, and my units will be moles of NaOH, because that's what's left. So we have 0.15 moles of NaOH. In the Google form again, you only have to type the number. Okay, and I know it says whole numbers, but just go ahead and type whatever number you have. Next up, now we have converting 2 moles of NaOH to grams. So again, using our T-chart, write whatever is on here on top, 2 moles of NaOH, whatever you're given, just write it there. Again, on the bottom, we just copy whatever is on the top left corner, copy those units, moles of NaOH, and put it down here on the bottom. A lot of students get this messed up. So last time, if you notice, we put grams on the bottom, but in this case, we're putting moles on the bottom. And that's because our units on the top say moles of NaOH. So we're trying to convert it to grams, so we can use our molar mass to convert this to grams of NaOH. So we can use our molar mass again. Again, our molar mass was 40 grams per mole. So then therefore, we got 40 grams per 1 mole. So we're going to put our 1 mole, our 1 next to our mole, and 40 next to our grams, because we have 40 grams per mole. So now we're going to go ahead and multiply across and divide on the bottom. When we do this, our units on the top and bottom will cancel out. We're left with grams. So if we were to put this into our calculator, we got 2 times 40 divided by 1. And whenever you do that, you get 80. So our answer will be 80 grams of NaOH. 80 grams of NaOH. So our last question, we got our last question going, and it looks like a lot of work, but it's really not. So we have a formula given to us. So this formula is written here. If you notice a few things about it, there is a big number in front, like this 2 in front of the NaOH. And if there's no number in front of these compounds, we can safely assume that's just a 1. Okay, so we can safely assume it's just a 1. And notice that this formula basically says that if we mix this chemical with this chemical, that means we get this and this chemical. And what we call this type of formula is going to be a balanced equation. Okay, so balanced equation. We need this in order to answer the question. So the question is, convert 6 moles of NaOH to moles of calcium hydroxide. So we're going from moles to moles. The last few times we either went from grams to moles, or we went from moles to grams. But this time we're going from moles to moles. We're just converting these values. So to do that, we need our balance equation. So let's start off like how we have been starting off. We have 6 moles of NaOH. Okay, so that's what's given to us. And we know that we want to convert this to calcium hydroxide, CaOH2. So Again, we're going to start off like we have been starting off, and we're going to go ahead and write our units on the bottom. So just copy these units down. Moles of NaOH. Okay. Now I know I want to convert moles of NaOH to moles of calcium hydroxide. So I'm going to write that on top. So where do I get these numbers from? Well, remember whenever in the beginning I talked about the numbers in front of the compounds over here? Okay, so if there's no number in front of it, you can safely assume it's just 1. So we're just going to match those numbers with the compound. So we got 2 next to NaOH and a 1 next to calcium hydroxide. So last step, just like we always have been doing, multiply across, divide on the bottom. Everything that's the same on the top and bottom cancels out. You're left with moles of calcium hydroxide. That's what you're trying to solve for. You need moles of calcium hydroxide. So then therefore, whenever we put this in the calculator, we got 6 times 1 divided by 2. And we should get 3. So we got 3 moles of calcium hydroxide left for you. Okay, so 3 moles. Okay, so that's the conclusion of this review. Go ahead and fill out the Google form. I know it says input whole numbers only, but if you're not, well, some of our answers aren't whole numbers, so just put the decimal. That is perfectly fine. And don't forget to do your test corrections. So test corrections for solutions test. Okay, test corrections for solutions test. So that was the test we took on April 1st, April Fools. Okay, so I definitely have tutorials every Tuesday and Thursday. So Tuesday and Thursday from until 4. Until 4. Thank you for joining me on this video journey. I will see you in class. Bye.